All right, welcome to the Blogging Bunch Hangout. We are live here today, and let's see if I've got everything going on my blog. If you go to our page, also go to the Blogging Bunch link, we've got the chat box below us. So if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you today. I've got Carrie with me from carriel.com and Jill from blogchickablog.com. So today we have our very first guest. It's our first hangout of the year, and we have our very first guest, and we're super excited. Yeah. Let's see. I hear a. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, but there's feedback.
Yeah, there's feedback. I know. I was trying to figure out where that feedback was coming from.
It might be me.
And Jill from blogchickablog.com.
Yeah, it's the delay.
We have our very first guest. It's our first.
Do you have the page open, Jill?
I had your page open, but I thought I had closed it.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, but there's feedback.
Yeah, there's feedback.
Okay.
No, I was trying to.
Is it gone?
Nope. Let's see.
Wait.
There.
Okay, there it is. There.
Yeah, it's the delay.
Okay.
Nope. It's still. We got to close that page and just leave the Blogging Bunch page open, maybe,
There. I think.
or the Google Plus
I
page.
got it.
Okay.
It was me, I think. I thought I had closed it because I had gotten up to your page. I'm sorry, I kind of ruined your intro.
We're okay. I just did a video a couple of minutes ago, and the dogs had a fit. They were barking all over the place, and I made a comment about every single video I do, something random will happen. So
Keeping it real.
you just keep moving on. That's kind of how we go. All right, so today we want to start off the new year talking about Pinterest and working on our Pinterest boards. Personally, I know I get the most traffic from Pinterest, so I spend a lot of time thinking about Pinterest and working on Pinterest. And I know Carrie gets the most traffic from Pinterest also. So it's a big deal for us. And at the Blogging Bunch, that site is starting to we're starting to get some Pinterest traffic there also. So Jill has been really focusing on Pinterest lately and checking out, we had the smart feed. Do we have the smart feed? Do we not have the smart feed? What can we do to really, get our pins going? Because new content was not being shown at all there for a while. So we want to talk to Jill about what's going on. And Jill, if you could introduce us and tell us a little bit about yourself first too, we'd love that.
Well, I'm Jill Levenhagen, and I'm from Greenwood, Indiana. I have 2 kids. My son is 10 and my daughter is 6, and they're both in school, so I kind of ramped up my blogging a little bit more this year. I have had a photography blog for a little over a year and a half, and then this past fall I started my new blog for blogging tips and kind of photography tips, and I also sell some stock photography, and it's called Blog Chicka Blog. And so I love to talk about blogging, and Pinterest is my great subject right now, and I love helping people, so that's my big thing.
Awesome. Let's see here. And just an ironic little side note, Jill's from Greenwood, Indiana, which is where I used to go shop when I was in high school. It's like the next town over from where I lived, where I grew up also.
Isn't that crazy? We figured that out the other day.
That is so funny. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's just one of those little random things. You never know where you're going to find somebody.
Yep.
And I have a southern accent from growing up on the south side of Indianapolis. How about you?
I didn't grow up here, so I grew up in Missouri.
Yeah. Oh, well. South side of Indianapolis gave me a nice little accent. Anyway, your kids will have it. So, Jill, smart feed. Do we have it? Do we not have it? What's going on with Pinterest?
Well, I do keep up with what's going on, and I feel like that we've got. I mean, obviously, if you look at your Pinterest feed, you'll see that it doesn't seem like it's like the smart feed. Right about December 17, 18, I think we started seeing like the chronological feed come back. I have a little group of people. I have a special Pinterest group that we just strategize about Pinterest. If anybody listening here cares to join, you can directly talk to Sarah and she can add you. But because we have this group, we keep into the real time about what's happening, and we kind of ask each other questions. Ooh, I see this. What do you see? And everybody started seeing that, and we're all like, what's going on? We're excited, And I'm like, hold your horses. Don't get too excited, because at first I thought they could have had their smart feed fail. Like their software could have failed, and so they reverted back to the old so that they could fix something. But it kept going. And so it looks like we do not have a smart feed. And then the last couple weeks we started seeing something called picked for you pins. So what you're seeing right now is chronological feed in real time, back to real time, from the people that you follow, and then pins interspersed at the bottom instead of a board or a person. You'll see it says picked for you. And I think they probably have folded the related and promoted pins into that picked for you. Not positive about that, but it seems like those are the only two things we're seeing, and I know there's related, or that's what related pins are now, and promoted pins probably are in there so that they don't stand out too much.
Where do you see those picked for you pins at? Are those on your boards, or when you click on a pin?
In your Pinterest feed.
Just in your feed, just randomly thrown in there?
If you look at where it was from, it'll say picked for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like it's gone, and I'm guessing now that we're seeing something with this picked for you, that they've kind of switched over to something else. I think that it didn't. I think Pinterest is really, they're hiring more people all the time. They want to be a search engine. They just want to get better and better, and so they're going to be trying things. We have to stay on top of it, and I think they're going to try some things, and then they're going to go back on some things, and I think that's what we've seen. But there are a lot of things that we talked about how to work with the smart feed that still apply for sure, and we talk about that, what to do. I am now getting feedback again somewhere. Nope, now it's gone again. Okay.
Yeah, and looking at the Pinterest, looking at my Pinterest board, it really looks to be about 50-50 picked for you, and then from people that I follow. So
yeah, sometimes it's a little more than you want it to be.
Yeah. I know with the smart feed there was a workaround for that, but we'll have to keep watching to see if there's a way to change that visual. Yeah.
Right. That workaround, that was not a workaround. It was not true either.
Oh, well, dang.
Because it was something about getting the promoted pins out or relate, They were saying you could set something to where they wouldn't show, somehow I don't know. Anyway, it wasn't what people thought it was. It didn't keep the smart feed out.
Okay, so we have a 50-50 now. Kind of smart feed, kind of your regular chronological real-time feed. I haven't heard as much lashback. I didn't hear anybody that liked the smart feed at all. So I'm glad that they've at least listened to their followers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are really trying to bump up their game and make Pinterest a little more than what it started with. Do you think that they're making a mistake?
I think this smart feed was too much. It was too much change, and I don't think. I think how people started out using it and it got so popular is a little bit more social than the smart feed was throwing out social.
Gotcha.
Social is following the people you like,
Right.
So I know, for myself, when they went to the smart feed, my Pinterest traffic dropped. Not a ton, because I have one post that does really well on Pinterest all the time, but then my new stuff, where I used to throw it on Pinterest and I would get immediate traffic, and it would either fall off or people would pin it. But when the smart feed came out, I stopped pinning as much stuff because it wasn't doing me any good anymore. Really, it wasn't my newer stuff. So I would still create the pins and I would still pin them, but I kind of stepped back from Pinterest for really the month of December. So what do you think, like, for those of us that are, this is my traffic, is Pinterest, right? What are our best steps? Like, what 2 or 3 things do you think every single pin needs to have that are going to get people to pin it? I mean, what do you recommend?
Yeah, that's a good question. Currently, I really do think I think the smart feed was like a shake for us, because we really did need to, it was kind of like Pinterest is telling us some things that they want us to do, and they needed to shake us to let us know. That's not really how they meant for it to happen, but I think the things about what we learned about smart feed still need to be applied, and no matter what, they are moving to be more and more like Google as a search engine. And even if they keep our feed the way it is, their search mechanisms are going to be more and more sophisticated as time goes by. So I think keywording everything is important. And first of all, if you're not already keywording and doing the SEO type things for your posts, you should do that. But a few things that carry over are, a lot of people still do not keyword their file name for their photos that they use in the post. So a lot of people just upload a photo and put it in there, and it's named my North Carolina vacation. You know, that's not the name of the post. You know, you're doing something about beach. You know, and
so she's talking about the alt tag when you're putting in your when you're inserting your photo, right? Changing
I'm actually
the file
talking
name.
about not
Actual file name.
I'm talking about the file name before the alt tag. So
when you edit your photo and you save your photo, you need to keyword the title of your photo that you saved to your computer with what you want people on Pinterest to be looking for. So if I do oatmeal bars, it needs to be oatmeal bars.
Yes, so you buy a stock photo or you have a family photo, you find it in your hard drive, copy it to the folder. I have a folder for every post in my computer. Copy it to wherever you want that you're working on this post and rename it. So you can keep it where you had it in the beginning, but copy it to somewhere and change the file name before inputting into your blog. That is one of the most important places that you can put your keywords. Then, when you put it into your blog, that will carry over to the alt tag automatically, or you can change your alt tag. But you always need to have an alt tag with keywords. So, when Pinterest pulls your image from your blog, they're seeing that stuff. They're seeing the file name, they're seeing the alt tag. Now, Google thinks that the file name and the alt tag are the important things. They don't care about the title. They don't care about the description. They don't care about the caption, really. So, I don't know if Pinterest reads those things and tries to pull those in and like takes from those as well. Who knows? But all that image information, you know, I think Pinterest can see. Now, if they can't, those are WordPress settings. If they can't read WordPress stuff that you put into WordPress, I mean, it is HTML'd into your account. But if they couldn't, because Google reads it like a bot, if perhaps they can't, then the file name's the only thing they've got. Because, I mean, they have to have that because of your photo. Okay, so when you get to Pinterest, you want to make sure that that was already done. You're pinning your pin, and the description is really important, and the board is really important. Obviously, a lot of people are putting their stuff on group boards. That doesn't matter. But I believe keywording everything is important. Now, there's a 50-50 thing. There's always a balance between keywording well and writing compelling descriptions that make people click.
Right.
I would probably definitely, if you had to choose, I would definitely write the compelling descriptions for your group boards because keywording is not going to matter as much. And then put keyworded ones on your own boards, especially where you have, I mean, your own blog board, you might want it to be, you might want to be more compelling or a little bit of both. But let's say I have Blog Chicka Blog as a blog board in Pinterest, but I also have a blogging tips how to blog. It's a very keyworded board, okay? I always keyword pretty much every single pin, blogging tips how to blog, for those things that are blogging. Everything from that blog board fits on that board as well. But I might keyword it especially for that. And actually those pins will probably do better because they're also mixed in with other people's pins that I also keyword. So I think keywording is really important. And you're asking like what to do to go forward and what's most important. I think obviously everybody's been telling us for a long time to schedule and be consistent with pinning. And I am finding that to be really helpful right now in that I'm pinning a lot more. I used to be like, oh, I don't want to pin very much, or I didn't want to take the time to pin manually, and I couldn't keep up with like all the pinning that I would have to do even on Viral Tag. I was on Viral Woot actually, but it's still a lot of work because you're actually pinning every one and finding them and all that. So I switched to Board Booster. It is a scheduling tool that I found to be more automatic. And so I pin over 100 pins a day on Board Booster. And Board Booster sets you up with a secret board. So it kind of works like the Viral Tag and the Viral Woot. You'll only easier. You pin to your secret board, and then on a schedule, the secret board is named the same thing as the board that you want to pin to. So I would have a secret board called Blog Chicka Blog, or like Blogging Tips, and then I have my board called Blogging Tips. So if I pin to my secret board, then Board Booster will pin on a schedule to the public board. Okay, that's how they set up and that's how they work. I still have to pin things to my secret board so that it will then on a schedule go up there. But a lot of people, that was their habit. They would spend 2 hours on a Saturday pinning out all their stuff on Viral Tag or whatever and let it schedule through the week. But when I got on Board Booster, I noticed the secret board was the source board that they pulled the pins from, and some of us on our special group found out that we could set the source board back to our public board. So what I do is I do something called looping my own boards, because I have pins that I found a year ago that never get seen anymore.
Right.
Like, I've already curated all this really great stuff. Why wouldn't I just let people see it again? And it's not like crazy, but I'm actually paying Board Booster to pin other people's stuff in a loop to my own board. So a lot of people don't like to pay schedulers to like be sharing other stuff that much. But I'm guessing my pins are about 20 to 25% tops, and the rest of my pins are other people's stuff being looped over and over on my boards. Over time, it takes a really long time for things to, 100 pins a day, and I have 10,000 pins on my board, so, it's taking a lot of time. But I'm pinning consistently throughout the whole day. Right now, I don't have any, blocks that I'm trying to set up that I think is better traffic. I'm considering trying to see that if I do have better traffic certain times. But I think the consistency is good. Board Booster is working really well for me, and I'm getting about 50 to 80 new followers a day, and that never happened to me before.
Do you pin to the same boards when you loop these pins through? Are you pinning them back to the same boards, or are you pinning them to other boards?
We're pinning them back to the same boards, and tomorrow Board Booster is coming out with a way that if you do that, then after a week, it'll analyze the 2 pins and delete the one that's not as good.
Oh.
Okay. That's
So
awesome.
then you won't have that duplicate pin thing. Because there is a way that if you loop it, there's a setting right now that says delete the original pin or keep it on the source board. And I always say keep it on the source board because if I don't, it could delete a pin that has 50 pins. But now we'll have the option, tomorrow he said, where if we're advanced pinners, and you have to really like click through, it'll give you options of like, I want after a week or after 2 weeks, you decide, and then I want to delete the one that has the least amount of repins, and you can decide the number, like even if it's 10. Like I told him, I'm like, I might not even want to delete ones that have 10 repins. So the one that's less, or you can keep them both if they have more than the amount of pins that you say. So I might keep some that have more than 10 or more than 20 repins. So then I've got 2 pins with a lot of repins. So that's going to be a way to keep it clean.
Is that upping your follower count?
Hmm?
Does Board Booster, is that increasing your follower count?
So yes, ever since I've been using Board Booster, and it's not just Board Booster because I totally like revamped my whole Pinterest strategies. I started adding food. I did a lot of holiday stuff, like Christmas holiday food and party appetizers and some deco, some different Christmas stuff because I knew that would come up in the feed and people would pin it and join the boards and stuff like that. So I did a few other things besides Board Booster, and then probably since Christmas I haven't pinned as much organically because I get in and pin organically. Here's 2 other things. I do Board Booster, and then I go in and repin from my feed. Most days I'll do some of that. I'll just get in there and do a few when I get in there. And the other thing I do is I pin organically from people's sites, and I do that through Feedly. I have Feedly and I pay for it, and I have all the blogs that I follow on Feedly, and every day in the morning I just spend a half an hour and I go down through and I can pin directly from Feedly. There are a couple blogs that will not show their feed pictures, but it doesn't happen a lot. And I can usually just see a picture and I can pin it right there, and I can look at the article. But I mean, I can pin directly from Feedly and do it really fast, so then that counts as organic pinning, and Pinterest likes that. And then I am keywording every single pin. I also, when I repin, I re-keyword most every pin to go on my proper board. So if somebody says, if it's a recipe about something avocados, I make sure it says recipe in the description because every blogger doesn't put that. Food bloggers don't usually put that. And I pin it. I actually have an avocado board. So I try and, not always, but a lot of times I'm being more specific with my boards if it's something that people are really into. Like people are loving the avocados, they're loving my Asian board, they're loving vegetarian, all the little buzz things. So anyway, I'm getting like that followers. It does go up and down every day, but I'm watching all kinds. I've been watching anywhere from 6 to 8 other people's accounts every day, people I know or people that are big or just all over the board. And that's pretty good right now. Most people are getting from 10 to 20. And some of the people that are like over 40, 50,000 are getting in the 70 to 100 range per day.
The followers have really dropped because I used Viral Tag and I was getting 150 followers a day for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then it totally tanked, and like 10 a day or something like that.
So I think consistent pinning is really working for that.
Do you think that, like Sarah was saying, like her Viral Tag, it just kind of tanked, and I think we have this thought like, well, maybe Pinterest is just not liking Viral Tag. Does Pinterest feel, I mean, when you use Board Booster or Ahology or Viral Tag or whatever, I mean, are we going to get the same results on all these different platforms if we use these on Pinterest? Or is there some things that we should want to stay away from? You see what I'm saying? Like, are they all
both?
At this point, I don't. There's that. I do talk to Dennis a lot at Board Booster, and he knows all these same people that I mean, he actually personally knows a couple people that have these like viral tag or viral woot. There's always that. I can tell they're always, you know, they're wanting to make sure that they stay good with Pinterest.
Right.
Okay. I don't think that Pinterest is at this point like I don't know what you would call it, like the pins coming in from them are any less than the pins that we are doing. I do think that they want you to pin consistently. They want it to be good. They want it to be keyworded. You know, obviously I'm repinning things that are already on my board, so you could wonder, like, do they figure that out? They could, but I think they're popular enough that they're happy with it. There's kind of a magic number right now that you could be a spammer if you get, you know, into the hundreds. You don't want to go too crazy. Like I'm over 100 right now that I pin per day.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't think that they're punishing viral tag or anything like that. I don't think most people are pinning that much quantity, or good quantity anyway.
Maybe the smart feed hurt everybody, or hurt their time. Like Carrie and I both said, we've kind of backed off of Pinterest because of that smart feed. So maybe that's happening. Somebody did ask, what's the difference, or could you talk about like exactly how you would pin something for keyword pin versus a compelling pin?
Well, there's always conversations about pinning. A compelling pin would be like you're trying to get people to click. So if I keyword, I'm going through recipes, let's say, and I find this best avocado, you know, dip, hummus dip, let's say. And so I might just keyword it best avocado. I mean, it might come up in the description and say best avocado hummus dip. And I might add recipe on the end and then pin it. So I might not add anything more to it. It's food. It's, you know, it's on my very specific board. I don't go further than that. It's going to do okay on my board. People, if you spend time, then you might be more apt to get people to click if you were to say, I made this dip last night and it was like the best ever. You need to make it. Like, so there's two things. You could act like you're not the content creator, you found it and you made it, or you found it and you want to make it and you're just doing a comment about it. Back in the old days when we used to use Pinterest, everybody put in their own description, right? And so you would say more personal things like that. And that might make people just more compelled to see, oh yeah, I need to pin that, or I need to click on that, okay? The clicking compelling is more like, you know, all the HuffPost titles, all those, you know, the blog titles where, you know, you kind of have to click to find out.
Yeah, you won't believe what she put in this hummus recipe.
Right. My friend Becky, she always said, Becky Inferently Creative, she always said, like, don't pin, you know, she always like, I will never pin those like 10 steps of a DIY project because who's going to click?
Right.
So she's always like, you know, pin something that makes people click. So there's just always that like dichotomy of like that balance, like how much keywording, how much compelling, you know, text or copy, I guess is what you call it, to use. And sometimes it's the use, you know. In the blog boards, like I said, with group boards, you might be more on the compelling side, but those are all bloggers, so they're not necessarily your clickers. Some of them are. They're going to repin. So yeah, you just have to think. I really feel like with SEO, I mean, that's kind of why I am where I am today. When I started my photography blog, I learned about SEO, and I started getting traffic immediately, and it was amazing. And I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for that. And so I've been able to apply that to everything I'm doing, and now it's applying to Pinterest like crazy. And so once you kind of know those things, you're thinking about the searcher, and you're thinking about what they're thinking, and you're trying to really you're thinking through it. It's like knowing something versus just practicing somebody telling you the steps.
That's such a great way to think of it, is think about your searcher. Think of your person that is sitting actually in front of their computer or sitting on their phone scrolling through Pinterest. Don't think about, so even more than you think about Google or what is Pinterest like, you think about what people are going to see and what they're going to click and what's going to compel them.
What you like, what you click.
Right.
Exactly. If you're going to throw it on a group board, if you could throw it on a group board and it's mostly bloggers, it might be something different than if you're throwing it on your boards that your moms follow. The moms that follow you follow.
And one thing that we talk a lot about with some people is your mindset of when you're pinning, the pins that you choose to pin. When you are trying to build your Pinterest boards and you're trying to get big on Pinterest, you don't just pin what you like. Okay, you have to pin what your followers will like. So you have to kind of, there are those pins we talked a little bit about, I don't know that I want to be associated with this one, but I have to pin it or something like that. But you have to think, I don't eat bacon, but I still pin bacon recipes because
everybody else in the world eats
everybody
bacon.
else, right.
Right. I cannot touch avocado for...
Oh.
I keep talking about that, but
so
actually,
you have to think about. You have to change your mindset. It's not just you. You are not the user of your Pinterest board. You're not the consumer of your Pinterest boards. You have your followers, and you have to put up what your followers are going to like. So.
Yeah, because it's not so much, especially if you're a blogger, right? When you started Pinterest 4 years ago or whatever, and it was just a fun, I'm going to pin stuff I like for my personal use, but it's not really that anymore.
No.
Right. And
not for us, but it is for other people that are following our Pinterest.
Yeah. And you're pinning for Pinterest. Don't think about the search. So if you have some pins that you can really keyword up and put on your best boards and stuff like that. One thing that I do tell people is if you're kind of lost on how to go with that, is go into the Pinterest search, how they have their search set up. They kind of tell you what their big sections are.
Right.
So I'll show you something. First of all, they've got the section, all the
DIY crafts, right? Those are the boards you should have.
So you can type up here and you can say blogging tips. Okay. And sorry, I misspelled. And I'm sorry, and I had something wrong chosen. Let's spell correctly. Okay. So then this is what comes up.
Across the
pins, right? You're I start to search. Well, don't forget about this part up here. This is where you're going to find your good keywords, okay? So anytime you search for anything, if you go up here and go through this, you're going to find more specific keywords to then add, okay? So if you have some kind of post on kids or parenting, there'll be something in there more specific to add to it. This is just Pinterest's way of saying this is the most popular keyword, stuff that people search for the most. It's kind of like the Google keyword tool. The difference between Google, we see a lot of long tail stuff. They'll take about everything. Pinterest is not. Pinterest is going to be more, broad, or, Google takes every detail. Pinterest is going to be more broad. So if you do need help with figuring out keywords, that's a good place to go into their guided search and all that.
Good tip. Okay. Well, we are 15 minutes past what we usually do.
Really?
I could still probably ask you so many questions. So.
I know.
That's fine. I'm fine. whatever.
It's fun. It's, this is something that drives a lot of traffic. It's had a lot of changes lately, and so it's really interesting to kind of dig in and say, like, and to talk about what other people are doing and seeing that works for them. So super interesting, and we are so happy that you agreed to come on with us and chat with us today, Jill. And if you want to check out more, Jill has her blog, chickablog.com.
Maybe we can do a part 2 to this one too.
Yeah, I know.
I still have like a list of questions here I haven't touched.
We'll come back in a couple of months and be like, okay, what's Pinterest doing now?
Yeah.
And then also in the chat box, I put in the link to the group. But if you just search, what is it, Pinning Support Group?
You can't search it. It's a secret group. You can only be invited by someone. So that's why I said they probably need to contact you directly. Because I don't want it to be a public thing where everybody can just, like, find it and join.
Okay, so if you're in, see, again, if you're in with us in the Blogging Bunch, in our Facebook group, then we'll help you get into Jill's group and kind of find out. And again, it's not a promotion group. It is a strategy group and learning, just like the Blogging Bunch site that we have. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will definitely check in with you again.
Great. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right.